Slip casting allows us to sort of make in multiples, but it's still a really handmade finish that we get by virtue of the way that we're using it. It's not industrial, it's not machined. It's really quite a simplified version of the technique. You know, I like staying in that space where things are touched by lots of hands. This is our workshop and making space slash office slash everything space. We kind of have it set up so that the production flow comes up from the back where the kilns are, a little bit like that, I guess. We sort of sit here at the front where we put all the orders together and dispatch and go through the process of curating, putting pieces together, checking translucencies. We have a little series of stock shelves, which it's really nice. It's exciting to get stock on the shelves and have options for when we are putting together and curating orders. So working hard to kind of get that done so that we can keep our lead times lower, and sometimes things are on the shelf. Often we have to make to order. I'd say 90% of the time we're making to order. These are forms based on tableware molds that we already have. So we've kind of, throughout most of the designs in here, I've replicated forms that we'd previously used in tableware designs and turned them into lighting. But it's this kind of really beautiful transition of, you know, the multiple uses of a form. These are all really classic forms. I haven't invented the wheel with any of them, obviously, but it's a really nice process to, you know, take something and repurpose it into another environment or into another utility, I guess. I think the process of being really happy with the outcome is really collaborative. You know, we're a really small team in here working together to kind of nut out all of the design elements. It's been a very organic process, which is very consistent with the approach of ceramics, which is, you know, that beautiful design, prototyping, building, exploring the material, figuring out, you know, the details. These are both vase molds that I had previous to making lights. This one I'd kind of played with this idea for so many years and years before I sort of had the time and put the energy into translating it into a lighting design. I think for me the idea of tactility in this material and in these designs really does come down to the porcelain. It really draws you in to wanting to touch it. It's got this buttery sort of feeling and it creates an ambience so naturally and so beautifully. I think in terms of creating work in this lighting space that has tactility, it definitely does that. These ones were fun and a huge challenge, actually. So it wasn't transferred a form from existing designs into lighting. This was, made uniquely to be a lighting piece. It was an interesting process using yoga balls and all sorts of balls, trying to figure out how we could get this shape into plaster. Love them. You know, there's a lot of blood, sweat and tears that goes into the making of these, especially the large ones, because they really kind of push the boundaries of what you can achieve in a kiln and in a slip casting process. It takes, you know, what are we at, like 7.5 buckets, so it's up to 80 litres of slip that we have to put into one of these molds, which is a lot. And initially we were pouring out the molds, 3 girls, like this huge mold to try and tip out the whole thing, and now we have a little tap at the bottom which lets the clay out. So the evolution has been good and much better for everyone's back. But yeah, I think it's been interesting, and I think it's really interesting how each mold will continue to evolve the piece. There's so many sort of elements that go into the shaping of what the final piece will look like, down to who's trimming the opening and how they're carving and carving back on the piece. Often we'll carve back a little bit to get a better translucency through it. You're always sort of bound by the limits of the material. It's nice to think that you can push them, but often you sort of come back to that place where you're like, okay, no, I need to work within the bounds of what's available here with this material. Especially in this handmade, you know, non-machined kind of environment where we're not using industrial processes. Yeah. we need to give in a lot to the unforeseen that happens throughout the process. Many hands touch each piece, so there's a lot of room for error in the hand making process, but we really try and mitigate that through processes that we employ in the studio. But yeah, you have to understand that there's always a force greater than us at work in the ceramics, especially in the kiln.